The mystic is not a special kind of human being, but every human being is a special kind of mystic. And so we are challenged to become the mystic we are meant to be. We all have mystic experiences. Abraham Maslow, great psychiatrist of the mid-20th century, asked himself the question, what makes human beings great? What makes them particularly healthy, particularly human? And explored that question for a long time and very thoroughly, and came to see, to his own greatest surprise, that the great ones that he had singled out for examination all had one thing in common, and that was they reported having mystic experiences. Even such people as Margaret Mead, who was one of his teachers whom he admired greatly, and other people whom you would not offhand call mystics. They had experiences of oneness with all. That is really the mystic experience. Deep down, there is only one faith that all human beings have, and that is that deep trust in life. Every human being has this built-in trust in life, so to say, because otherwise we couldn't survive for one moment. Even our body expresses that trust in life by always taking another breath. We can't even stop it. We can't stop breathing. And that already is an expression of trust that there's air to breathe. That's the first thing we do when we are born. The last thing is that we give out our breath and let go. So this breathing is already an expression of trust in life. And humans can survive for a long time without food and for a shorter time without drinking, but if we lose faith in life, if we lose meaning in life, we die right away. We can't survive. So that deep trust in life, that is what all humans share, and that expresses itself then in a Buddhist way, in a Christian way, and even in ways that we don't recognize as explicitly religious. Many atheists have a deep faith. They all have that deep faith, but they express it very differently. At different times in history, great founders of religious traditions, like the Buddha, like Jesus Christ, like Moses, like others, Muhammad, they will have deep mystic insights. That means a deep sense of communion with the ultimate, with the divine. And they will express that then in terms of their time, of their culture, and it will develop in historic ways that are determined by cultures, by historic events, very different from one another. But what underlies all of them is that deep trust, that deep human trust. And so our task today, especially today, because religious strife is so strong, religious wars are rampant, today it is necessary to go so deep into our own faith, whatever that might be, and reach that point where we are all connected. And that is our deep trust in life. That is that universal human faith. That's the faith that unites us, while the beliefs that we share with our fellow believers divide us from other fellow believers. Faith and belief are not identical. Unfortunately, we have only this word, this verb in English. We say, I believe, but the beliefs are not faith. Faith is deep trust. Faith is trusting in, not believing something. There's a great difference believing something and believing in someone. And faith is not believing something, which may be true or may not be true, but faith in the religious sense is trust in ultimately in life. But that expresses itself then in words like belief in God, put my trust in God. But there we have already come to a particular expression of that faith, because there are millions of people in the world who share that faith but will not use the word God. The whole Buddhist tradition, and also in our own culture, atheists or agnostics will not use the word God. But they do share that deep faith and trust in life. And that's what unites us with all human beings. So God is really a direction rather than something. God is not something. God isn't even someone. It's not a person like you and I are persons, because that you and I are persons limits us. Because I am a person, I cannot be you. Because you are a person, you cannot be me. But all those who believe in God and know what they mean by it do not believe that God cannot be you and me. God is you and me. And in that sense, I can say that I am God, or rather, I am totally united with God. God transcends my own being infinitely, but I still can say that the self of myself is God, or as the Bible says, God is closer to me than my own breath. It's the breath within my breath, as the mystic says. It seems to me that this is one of the most important statements in theology in the 20th century. Thomas Merton, the great Cistercian monk, saying, God isn't somebody else. Don't look outside for God. If you go deep and deeper into yourself, you will find that you can never reach bottom. It's fathomless. And that infinite depth of your own being is the divine depth within yourself. Thomas Merton says the spiritual journey is not a path on which you put one foot in front of the other. The spiritual journey consists in opening your eyes and seeing that you are there. Wherever you are, there you are. And that is also the meaning of pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is not a journey in the sense of a traveling where you get somewhere. The essence of pilgrimage is that with every step you reach the goal. And in this sense, the spiritual journey is a pilgrimage. Since I was first introduced to interreligious dialogue, and that was in its very beginnings here in the West in the 60s, since then we have made enormous progress. At that time, the very idea that a Christian was fraternizing with Buddhists was already very suspect and not at all acceptable, really, to the majority. Now, we all take it for granted that dialogue between, most people take it for granted that dialogue between the religious traditions is a good thing, is a necessary thing to overcome the misunderstandings and even hostilities that exist. Dialogue between Christians and Muslims would be an extremely important thing right now for the world situation. Between Jews and Muslims, extremely important. Of course, the differences are mostly political and mostly a power struggle, but they are at least disguised in religious garbs, and so we have to overcome that. So I see the future going in this direction, that more and more people will realize how important interreligious dialogue is, and then for those of us who are actually engaged in this interreligious dialogue, to speak about very specific aspects of our particular tradition. One time when I was sitting next to His Holiness the Dalai Lama at a conference, he reached over and without any explanation pulled the beads from my finger, gave me his big ones, and all during during that lecture that we attended to, he used mine and then gave them back to me. And then you know how he is, he laughs with this belly laugh, and he gave back to me, so small, he said, ha 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 ha, then gave them back to me. So this was a very beautiful interreligious gesture without any words. It's just, yes, we are doing very different things on one level and the same thing on another. I find the traditional prayers, like the Lord's Prayer, inexhaustibly helpful and inexhaustibly thought-provoking. And I pray the Lord's Prayer many times a day, and just to pray, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Then I look at our earth, what it looks like, what a mess we have made of it in so many respects. And I pray for the insight. Yes, I would like to make your will done on earth as it is in heaven, but I need insight, I need God's help to enlighten us. How do we realize God's will, peace, love, joy, respect for one another?